The internet, it can be a really strange place. Like every time you go online, there's always something new and weird. It's like there's all these bizarre questions and riddles and mysteries just kind of waiting to be found. And the thing is, what's so fascinating to me is how often all these like digital detectives, these online sleuths actually figure things out.
Yeah, it really shows you how connected we all are online. You've got this massive network of people, and they all have such different knowledge and backgrounds, right? So when something unusual pops up, well, that shared curiosity can lead to some pretty interesting answers, sometimes logical,
Right.
sometimes even unsettling.
Absolutely. And that's really what we're diving into today, right? I mean, we initially got started thinking about this because of this article, 10 plus internet mysteries that were solved by internet Sherlocks. But we've gone way beyond that single article. We've brought in all these other fascinating pieces of the puzzle, from articles to YouTube transcripts, all about internet mysteries.
So we're talking about everything, really, from the kind of head scratchers you see in online forums to those deeper, much more perplexing mysteries that really capture everyone's attention. And, well, some of them have some pretty satisfying answers,
Yeah.
but others, they just stay unsolved. Still mysteries to this day.
So really, what we want to do today is kind of give you a quick tour through these fascinating enigmas, right? We want to give you the key details, explain the potential explanations when they exist, and explore just how weird the internet can be. But without getting lost in all the details. Think of this as like your quick but comprehensive guide to some of the internet's best kept secrets, or I guess maybe it's worst kept secrets. So where do we start? Well, maybe with those mysteries that were actually solved, the more satisfying ones.
Yeah, I mean, those solved mysteries, I think, really highlight how the internet can be a powerful tool for problem solving, right? Like that 10 plus internet mysteries article had some perfect examples, just everyday puzzles that people online quickly figured out.
Like that first one, I remember someone posted a picture on Reddit. It was these little wheeled attachments, and they were like, what are these things for? Turns out it's pretty straightforward, just designed to make it easier to move like big whiteboards and blackboards around. Solved almost instantly, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Then you had that one where someone found all these tooth-like things in their laundry. Understandably, they were a little freaked out,
Hmm.
especially since their washing machine was brand new.
Right. And the theory that seemed to make the most sense was refurbished washing machines. The idea is that the previous owner maybe left dentures in the washer, some teeth break off, and then the machine gets returned, fixed up, resold, and those teeth are just kind of stuck in there until someone else finds them during laundry. It's kind of unsettling, but it makes sense,
Right,
right?
exactly. And it shows how, like, people online connect these random pieces of information together and then apply a little common sense. It's like collective problem solving. Like that person who saw all those symbols on their car, remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. All those weird patterns in the back of their car. It turned out it was just marks from the underside of the hood. Simple as that. Shows how sometimes things are a lot simpler than they first appear.
Sometimes. Then we get into some slightly weirder territory, like, do you remember that person who got part of a fishing lure in the mail? They didn't even fish, and they didn't live anywhere near the area code on the package.
That's right, and that actually exposed something kind of shady that goes on online, these brushing scams.
Yeah.
Basically, sellers send out these random cheap items so they can create fake accounts and leave themselves good reviews, you know, to boost their ratings.
Yeah, a good reminder that not every package you get in the mail is a gift. It's like that other example, the tag attached to a piece of Tupperware.
Yeah, the buyer couldn't figure out what this little plastic thing was for. Turned out it was an anti-theft RF tag. The kind stores use now, usually hiding them under stickers.
Right. Then there's the balls found on the beach in Antigua. The person who found them thought they might be some kind of egg sac, remember?
Yeah, but the internet, with its amazing knowledge of nature and even literature, identified them as sea grapes. And someone even chimed in, saying they had learned about sea grapes from reading Jamaica Kincaid's novel Annie John, which actually is set in Antigua.
Yeah, I love that one. Shows how these online communities can connect completely different things.
Hmm.
It's amazing, really. Then there was that user from Mexico who was puzzled by this star-shaped outlet in their bedroom.
That's right. They weren't familiar with it. But the answer was pretty simple. It's a cable pass-through, for running cables through the wall. Just a regional difference.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it's all about where you are, what you're used to seeing. Then there was that one where someone's neighbor had a high-frequency sound device in their yard.
Yeah, making that annoying high-pitched sound. And it turned out the most likely reason for that was to keep dogs off their lawn. Just a little neighborhood drama solved by understanding the tech involved.
And then, another example of a brushing scam, with more serious consequences though, the unsolicited package of seeds.
Yeah, that one's kind of scary because those seeds could be invasive species. The advice online was to contact agricultural authorities right away.
Right, because it's still a scam, but it could have a real impact on the environment. Then there's that one where someone found this weird thing while hiking.
I remember that one. It turned out to be an MCH pheromone bubble. The Forestry Service uses them to stop those bark beetle infestations. It releases a pheromone that tells the beetles the tree is already full so they don't attack it. Pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Back to a more domestic setting. Then there was that unidentified item found in someone's parents' bathroom closet.
Turns out it was just contact lens cleaner. Mystery solved. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. And then, the wife using an unknown object as a doorstop.
Right, and it turned out to be the bottom of an old iron. The kind with a removable handle. Just a piece of old tech.
Fascinating how some of those old items end up being mysteries for people today, right? And last from those solved mysteries, the unusual toilet in the hospital.
Yeah, that one was designed specifically for cleaning bedpans. Makes
Yeah.
sense, right? It's all about practicality in that kind of environment. So, I mean, as you can see, even these simple solved mysteries show just how powerful the internet could be for solving everyday puzzles. But then, like you said, there are the mysteries that are way more unsettling, the
Okay.
ones that don't really have answers.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into some of those, shall we? Let's dive into some of the internet's darker corners, starting with the 5 most disturbing internet rabbit holes. These are the kinds of stories that make you question what's real and what's not. First up, the 2006 volleyball incident.
That one's really disturbing because it just feels so ambiguous. Like, it could have happened, but there's not much proof. It all started with a post on 4chan in 2017 talking about a mass shooting at a high school volleyball game in 2006. It supposedly happened in South Dakota or Nebraska, but the details are fuzzy.
Yeah, and the really creepy part is that you can't find any news reports about it, no official records, nothing. It's as if it never happened. And yet some people online say they remember hearing about it. Some even say they remember radio broadcasts about it near Mount Rushmore. It's like this collective false memory, sometimes called the Mandela effect.
Right, and for a long time, the only supposed evidence was this blurry still image, apparently from a home video. The date was visible on the image, September 27, 2006. Then, some gamer who frequents the darker parts of the internet claimed to have found pictures of a bloody gym on some website like 4chan. And in the corner of these photos, there was text that said, CBI not for release.
Right. And that CBI not for release really makes it even creepier, makes you think about cover-ups, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, some pretty wild conspiracy theories popped up, saying it was a government operation gone wrong, maybe an assassination attempt, and these volleyball players got caught in the crossfire. They say the media was silenced, the families paid off to keep quiet. It's a big leap, though, don't you think?
It is. I mean, governments keep secrets, sure, but something this big involving so many people seems unlikely. There's a more grounded explanation, linking it back to the Mandela effect. Turns out there was a similar, though different, event that happened on the same date, September 27, 2006. The Plaid Canyon High School hostage situation in Colorado. Tragically, there was a shooting, and someone died, but it wasn't a volleyball game. Maybe people are just mixing those memories up.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the most likely explanation, though maybe less exciting, is that it was all a hoax. Someone even admitted on a forum in 2017 to making up fake school shootings back in 2006, even creating fake erased records. But if that's the case, where did those pictures the gamer found come from?
Yeah, exactly. So many unanswered questions. It's been a while since this first appeared, and we still don't really know the truth about the 2006 volleyball incident. Shows how easily false information can spread online and how these shared false memories can persist. The next rabbit hole, grave robbing for morons, that's equally unsettling.
Yeah, that one's really disturbing. It's this VHS take, really bad quality, looks super old, re-uploaded to YouTube in 2014. Even the title, Grave Roaming for Morons, misspelled by the way, is creepy.
And what's on the tape is even worse. It's just this young guy giving step-by-step instructions on how to rob graves, how to sell the remains, the tools, the buyers, everything.
It's really chilling to watch, seriously. And what makes it even more disturbing is that nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody's ever claimed to have made it. So people online have been debating whether it's real, like an actual crime being planned, or some kind of messed up horror movie.
There's some evidence for both sides, too. The earliest mention of this video we could find, it was listed on this website called Shocking Videos back in April 2003. It specialized in rare horror VHS tapes, and it claimed that the video was genuine camcorder footage.
Wow. But it's possible that description was just marketing, trying to make it seem more real, which is pretty common in that world.
Yeah.
But still, it's creepy either way. The lack of answers, the disturbing content, it just makes it really unsettling.
Definitely.
Hmm.
And the last disturbing rabbit hole on this list involves something that seems totally innocent at first. It's the toy with disturbing contents.
Yeah, this is a recent one. It's about this cheap toy, one of those mass-produced kids' toys. And when someone opened it, they found these really disturbing drawings inside. And the weirdest part is there's no information about the manufacturer anywhere on the toy.
No company name, no country of origin, nothing. So people are naturally wondering where these things are coming from and if there are other disturbing things hidden inside everyday products.
Yeah, it's definitely creepy. It makes you think twice about all the stuff we just buy without really thinking about it. Anyway, moving on, there was a quick mention of Tier 5 Internet Mysteries from this YouTube series about Internet mysteries. We don't have any specific examples from that tier here, but it's worth mentioning, right? Just to show how deep this iceberg goes.
Yeah, for sure. So there's this whole other world of weird and unsettling things online that most people will never even know about. Pretty crazy to think about. Let's move up a level, though, to some mysteries that you might actually recognize. We've got some famous internet mysteries here, like Cicada 3301.
Oh yeah, Cicada 3301. That's a classic. For those who don't know, it was this series of incredibly complex puzzles that appeared online between 2012 and 2014, mostly on 4chan. The puzzles involved all sorts of things like cryptography, steganography, data security, even internet anonymity.
And they were supposedly designed to recruit highly intelligent individuals. Basically, a really elaborate intelligence test all online.
But the thing is, even though some people apparently solved those puzzles, nobody knows who was behind it all or what the purpose was. Some people think it was a government intelligence agency looking for recruits. Others think it was some kind of secret group of hackers.
Right. The first puzzle appeared in January 2012. Then more puzzles in January 2013 and 2014. The last confirmed message from Cicada 3301 was in April 2017. And then, nothing. It's like they just disappeared.
Yeah, it's all very mysterious. And the puzzles themselves, they were so complex, so well designed. They even led people to physical locations around the world. Someone put a lot of time and effort into this, that's for sure. Cicada 3301 is definitely one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the internet. Another famous mystery that's been around for even longer is the Publius Enigma.
Yeah, this one goes all the way back to 1996. It started with these cryptic messages posted on a Usenet news group, specifically the one for Pink Floyd fans. They were posted by someone calling themselves Publius, and they use a service called Pennant, which was designed to make people anonymous online.
Right. And these messages, they were just random letters, numbers, and symbols, the kind of thing that makes you think there's some secret code hidden in there, probably related to Pink Floyd somehow.
But to this day, nobody's been able to fully decipher those messages. We still don't know who Publius was or what they were trying to say. It's amazing that this mystery has lasted for so long, just within this specific community of Pink Floyd fans online.
Absolutely. We also have a couple of other interesting mysteries mentioned in this section. There's the Redditor with the username A858DE45F56D9BC9. It's this really strange account that's been posting long strings of what looks like code to a subreddit called Ray858 since 2011.
Yeah, it's like they're broadcasting this message in some unknown language and nobody knows what it means. Could be anything, really. Then there's GhostNet.
GhostNet. This was a big cyber espionage operation discovered in 2009. The evidence suggested it was run out of China, and it targeted all sorts of important organizations, embassies, government offices, even personal email accounts. China denied any involvement, of course, but we still don't know the full extent of what was stolen or what their goals were.
Exactly. So, as you can see, there's a whole range of famous internet mysteries, from puzzles and codes to potential crimes and international espionage. Now, let's go deeper into the unsolved mysteries iceberg, where things get even stranger, starting with Oumuamua.
Oumuamua. This was the first object from outside our solar system that we ever detected back in 2017. It was a really big deal in the scientific community, and it sparked a lot of speculation.
Yeah, because it had this really unusual shape, long and cylindrical, not like the typical asteroids or comets we see. And as it moved away from the sun, it accelerated in a way that we couldn't fully explain.
So, of course, people started theorizing that it was alien technology, maybe a probe or a solar sail from another civilization.
And while that idea caught everyone's attention, most scientists think there's a more natural explanation. Although we still don't have all the answers. The shape is still debated, and that weird acceleration could have been caused by outgassing, like when a comet releases gas and dust. But we didn't actually observe any outgassing from Umoa.
Right. So, aliens are still on the table, but it's not the most likely explanation. But the fact that we still don't know for sure, that's what makes it so fascinating. This discovery even made people start talking about sending probes to intercept other interstellar objects in the future.
Yeah, I mean, even if Oumuamua turns out to be completely natural, its discovery really shows how much we still have to learn about the universe. And it definitely highlights the need for more research and observation of these interstellar objects. The next mystery on the iceberg is a strange one. Would you, could you, on a train? Which refers to the Hoboken train crash.
Yeah, this was a really tragic accident. A commuter train crash in Hoboken, New Jersey back in 2016. People were killed, lots more injured. And the engineer said he couldn't remember anything about what happened right before the crash.
A terrible accident. But what makes it even creepier is this emergency alert message that was broadcast on TV a couple of days before the crash. It was up in New York State, and it had quotes from Dr. Seuss, weirdly specific quotes too, like the phrase, would you, could you, on a train, and it was broadcast right up until the exact time of the train crash.
Wow, that is really creepy. It almost sounds like a premonition or something.
Yeah, it does. But it turned out there was a much simpler explanation. Just a software developer testing the emergency alert system. And they were using Dr. Seuss quotes for the test and accidentally sent it out nationwide. That's a crazy coincidence, but that's all it was.
Wow. Still, it's pretty unsettling to think about. What's next on the iceberg?
It's Beebe's abyssal fishos. Sounds kind of strange, right?
It does. What is that?
This refers to the deep-sea fish that William Beebe, a famous marine biologist, claimed to have seen during his bathysphere dives back in the 1930s. He was one of the first people to ever go that deep into the ocean.
And he saw these fish that nobody had ever seen before. He even gave them these really cool names. But the thing is, nobody's ever seen those fish again since then. So some people think they were real undiscovered creatures, like deep-sea cryptids.
Right, but there's also the possibility that Beebe just misidentified some known species. The technology back then wasn't as good as it is today, and the visibility in the deep ocean is really bad. Maybe the pressure and the weird environment just made him see things differently. It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely an interesting mystery.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else is down there, hidden in the depths. What about the Baltic Sea anomaly? I remember hearing about that one.
Ah, yes. This is a big, round, rocky object found at the bottom of the Baltic Sea in 2011. They found it using sonar. And, well, the shape was pretty unusual, so of course people started saying it was a crashed UFO.
That's right. And the early sonar images kind of supported that idea. But when they took samples of the rock, it turned out to be nothing special, just a natural formation, albeit a weirdly shaped one.
Moving on, we've got the black-eyed children. This is more of an urban legend than a concrete mystery.
Yeah, this one's pretty creepy. It's about these kids with completely black eyes who show up at people's doors or cars and ask to be let in.
Right. It's a popular story online, and it's definitely unsettling, but there's no real evidence to back it up. It's more like folklore, passed around online to scare people.
What about the Beast of Bodmin Moor? I've heard about that one too.
Ah, yes. The Beast of Bodmin Moor. This is about sightings of big, panther-like cats in this area of England called Bodmin Moor. Now, there are lots of stories about these phantom wildcats all over the world, and usually the explanation is pretty simple. They're escaped or released exotic pets.
Makes sense. But what makes the Bodmin Moor sightings more interesting is the number of reports. There have been so many sightings over the years that some people believe there's a breeding population of these cats living in the area.
Right. But most wildlife experts say that's unlikely because there's not enough food there to support a whole population of big cats. And while there are some pictures and videos, the quality is usually pretty bad, and it's hard to say for sure what they show. What are the most famous pictures, for example? Some people say it's a jaguar, but others say it's just a big house cat.
So it's possible that there have been some individual sightings, but the idea of a whole breeding population, that's probably not true. Let's talk about a more serious case now. The disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. This is a really sad and mysterious story.
Yeah, it is. Amy Lynn Bradley disappeared from a cruise ship in 1998 while it was sailing to Curacao. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to her. There are so many theories, but no real answers.
She was last seen sleeping on the balcony of her cabin early in the morning. Her family is convinced she was kidnapped. They even begged the cruise line to stop people from getting off the ship in Curacao so they could search it properly, but the cruise line refused. And since then, there have been all these strange reports. People saying they saw Amy in Curacao after she disappeared, even a report of her being forced to work in a brothel.
Right, and those reports really fueled the theory that she was trafficked, maybe with the help of some of the cruise ship staff. But there are some problems with that theory, too. It would be really hard to kidnap someone from a shared cabin on a moving ship. And there are other explanations for the things that happened, like the missing photographs and the way the staff acted.
The investigators didn't think she went overboard at first because she was a strong swimmer and her body was never found. But as the source points out, those things don't rule out that possibility entirely, especially in the open ocean with strong currents and all that.
Exactly. And without any proof that she ever left the ship after it docked in Curacao, the most likely explanation is that she somehow ended up in the water. But it's a tragic case with so many unanswered questions.
All right, let's move on to the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg 5. This is where things get really obscure, starting with odd radio circle.
This one is described as an acoustic phenomenon. Apparently, it's well known in certain circles, but it hasn't really made its way into the mainstream internet mystery world.
Okay, interesting. Then there's BB's chess. I have no idea what that could be.
This is actually about a video game, or rather, a video game that never existed. It was listed in some old gaming magazines as a game for the Atari 2600, but no such game was ever released. Some people think it was a joke, others think it was a typo, but the most interesting theory is that it was a mistranslation of a real Japanese chess game. Maybe the word baby was misheard or translated as BB's.
That's pretty funny, actually. I wonder if there's any truth to that. What about the Vela incident? That sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah, this one is pretty serious. In 1979, a U.S. satellite detected a double flash of light over the Indian Ocean. This kind of double flash is a clear sign of a nuclear explosion, and pretty much all the experts agree that it was a nuclear bomb. But the big question is, who set it off?
Wow. And nobody ever claimed responsibility.
Nope. Most people think it was South Africa because they were developing nuclear weapons at the time, and they might have been working with Israel too. But it was all very secret because South Africa had signed a treaty saying they wouldn't build nuclear weapons. So the exact details are still a mystery.
A secret nuclear explosion. That's pretty intense. What about the Jameson family deaths? This one's really sad and really strange.
Yeah, this is a tough one. In 2009, this family, the Jamesons, they disappeared in Oklahoma. They were just gone. Their truck was found a few days later with most of their stuff still inside, including over $32,000 in cash. And their dog was in the truck too, alive but really skinny.
That's really strange. Why would they leave all that money behind?
That's what everyone wants to know. And it gets even weirder. 4 years later, their bodies were found, just a few miles from the truck. But we still don't know how they died.
Wow. So many unanswered questions.
Right. And there are all these weird details. Security footage from their house showed them acting really strangely, like they were in a trance while they were packing the truck. There was also a brown suitcase that was never found. And before they disappeared, they were talking about seeing spirits and doing witchcraft.
Really? That's creepy.
Yeah, it is. And there was a picture found on the father's phone, a picture of their daughter that was taken near where the truck was found. And in the picture, the daughter looks really scared, like something is wrong.
It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie.
It does. The most likely explanations are murder-suicide, or maybe they got lost and died in the wilderness. But the money, the suitcase, all those strange details,
Yeah.
they make this case really hard to solve.
It's a really tragic and mysterious story. Okay, let's move on to the top 30 unsolved internet mysteries list. We've already talked about some of them, so let's focus on the ones that are new. First, 11B by 1371.
This was a disturbing video posted on 4chan back in 2015. It shows someone dressed as a plague doctor with all these weird symbols and codes hidden throughout the video. The music was really creepy too. People thought it might be a coded message, maybe even a terrorist threat.
Wow, that sounds scary.
Yeah, it's really unsettling. But the person who made the video eventually came forward and said it was just an art project. But they never explained what it meant, so people are still trying to figure it out.
It's interesting how something so creepy can just be art, you know?
It is. Next on the list is mortis.com. This was a website from the early days of the internet, and all it had was a login screen.
A login screen, that's it.
That's it. But the few people who supposedly managed to log in said it was full of data, like terabytes of it. So naturally, there were all these crazy theories about what was on there, but the site was eventually shut down, and whoever made it just disappeared.
So whatever was on that site is gone now.
Seems like it. Lost to the internet forever. Next up is a game called Sad Satan.
Sad Satan. What kind of game is that?
This is a really messed up one. It was supposedly found on the dark web, and the gameplay was really simple. You just walk down these hallways, but the sound effects are really disturbing. Things like Charles Manson interviews and weird backward singing. There's even a cloned version of the game that's even more graphic and violent.
Wow. That's definitely not something I want to play.
Yeah, it's best to avoid that one. Moving on, we have the 432 Mystery.
What was that about?
This was a weird series of emails that went around in the 2010s. They had links to creepy pictures. But the people who tried to figure out what it all meant started getting harassed online. They even had their personal information leaked. And then, the subreddit dedicated to solving the mystery was shut down by Reddit for no reason.
That's really strange. It's like someone was trying to stop people from figuring it out.
Exactly. Next we have the Box of Crazy.
What is that? A literal box?
It is. It's a suitcase, actually, that someone found. And inside were all these drawings of UFOs and demons and pages from a journal. It's like someone's darkest thoughts and fantasies all collected in this suitcase. And nobody knows where it came from.
Wow, that's pretty wild. Okay, we've talked about GhostNet already. And then there's Anonymous.
Anonymous, the famous hacker group, or I guess more like a collective, they're all over the internet protesting and causing chaos.
Yeah.
And nobody knows who they are or who's in charge.
Yeah, they're a real mystery. What about Unfavorable Semicircle? We talked about that one earlier, right?
We did. But it's worth mentioning again, is this YouTube channel that uploaded thousands of weird videos with no explanation. Then it was suddenly shut down, and all traces of it disappeared from the internet.
Like it never existed. And then there's the most mysterious song on the internet.
Right. This is a song that was recorded off a German radio station in the 80s. Nobody knows who the artist is or what the song is called, but people have been trying to identify it for decades. There's even a whole online community dedicated to finding the answer.
That's pretty amazing. We also talked about grave robbing for morons already. And next is the Heaven's Gate website.
This is the website of that cult that committed mass suicide in 1997. And the creepy thing is, the website is still online. It's like a digital ghost of that tragedy.
And nobody knows who's maintaining it?
Nope. It's a mystery. Then there's the story of Alex from 4chan.
What was that about?
This guy on 4chan posted the coordinates to a location in Tennessee and said there was a prize there for whoever found it. Then he started posting pictures of what looked like human remains. Someone else went to check it out, but they stopped posting abruptly after saying they heard someone coming.
Oh, wow. That's really creepy. So we don't know what happened to them.
Nope. It's like they vanished into thin air. Next is John Teeter.
John Teeter, the time traveler.
Right. He was all over the internet in the early 2000s, claiming to be from the future. He talked about his time machine and made predictions about what was going to happen. But later, it was revealed that it was all fake. Still, his story is a classic example of early internet weirdness.
Definitely. What about the elevator game? I think I've heard of that one.
This is a supposed ritual from Korea that involves pressing elevator buttons in a specific order. It's said to take you to another dimension, but it's probably just an urban legend. And a dangerous one, too.
We've also talked about the Publius Enigma already. Then there's Valor, Port Tamaulipas.
This was a Facebook page run by anonymous people in Mexico. They were reporting on the drug cartels, which is incredibly dangerous. There was even a bounty on their heads, but their identities were never revealed. It shows how risky it can be to speak truth to power online. Yeah, a real testament to their bravery. What about Octi282011.com?
This was a weird website that appeared for a short time. It had cryptic text and a phone number you could call, which played these strange sounds. But then, after October 28, 2011, it just disappeared. Nobody knows who made it or what it was for.
Another internet mystery lost to time. Okay, we've also talked about Satoshi Nakamoto and Ray858 already. And of course, there's Cicada 3301. It seems like that one just keeps popping up.
It really does. It's the internet mystery that just won't die. Now, let's dive into some of the most obscure internet mysteries out there. We've got the top 5 most obscure internet mysteries here. We've already talked about Unfavorable Semicircle, so let's move on to paranoia.com.
Paranoia.com, what's that about? This was a website that started in 1995. It was supposed to be about free speech, but it ended up being a really dark place full of illegal and disturbing content. Eventually got shut down.
Makes sense. But what makes this obscure?
Well, here's the weird part. If you go to paranoia.com now, it redirects you to the Disney website.
Disney. As in Walt Disney.
Yeah.